Hi everyone, this will follow up to my last video where I told you about some of my favorite games that weren't Earthbound, and I asked you guys on my Discord server if you guys wanted to see more of that, and some of you seemed interested, so I'm going to tell you some more of my favorite games. So first off, we're going to start off with The Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening. No particular version. I love DX, and I love the remake that came out a few years ago. I have not played the very original game, of the original black and white Game Boy one, but DX and the remake are both some of my favorites. I love the outside the box Zelda games, as you'll see, that have nothing to do with the rest of the series, that feel very offbeat. They're some of my favorites. Link's Awakening was one of the first Zelda games I ever played, even. It's definitely my favorite 2D Zelda, no question about that. And I'm currently doing a hero mode playthrough of the remake. It's a game I love very much and would love to elaborate more on in a video in the future, but that'll be for another time. Anyways, the art direction of the new one is fantastic, even though it's a very radical decision if you think about it with how much they changed it, because when you're remaking a 2D pixel-based game, you're competing also with the player's imagination of what they imagine the original looking like. So it was a very radical decision artistically by Nintendo, and I think it paid off pretty well. Next up, The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask. I promise not all these are Zelda. The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask and Link's Awakening, I always go between as my favorite Zelda games, but I think it might narrowly be Majora's Mask. You've heard it before 100 million times. I love how dark the game is. Its atmosphere is so thick, it's just drenched in it, and it's probably the most atmospheric Zelda game, in my opinion. I find it to be great because its story is so mature and feels like it's evolving along with the character of Link as he's growing into a teenager. It's very technically and visually impressive for a Nintendo 64 game, and it feels like it turned its weaknesses into its strengths. It reuses a lot of assets from Ocarina of Time, and in doing so, gave them completely new meaning and didn't just let them become just that, shameless reuses of properties and assets from before. So Zelda Majora's Mask does a lot with what it's given. And this one's so radical, in fact, Zelda's hardly even in this game. If you haven't played Majora's Mask, I can understand it's one of the more difficult games in the series, but I would recommend giving it another shot because I know too many people who've given up on this game that need to give it a much more of a chance. Mario and Luigi Bowser's Inside Story. This was one of the first RPG games I owned personally. I got this the year it came out, and I fell in love with it immediately. Some of the best art direction this series has, and in my opinion, this was the peak of the Mario and Luigi series. To be fair, I did not play the ones after this. I didn't play Dream Team or Paper Jam. However, of the original three, I would say this is the best of those original three, though I would also say that I feel the series got better as it progressed. Anyway, the story and atmosphere is great of this game as well, particularly in the last, third of the game. The atmosphere gets really, really thick, and it's a lot more puzzle-based than a lot of the previous entries in the series were, and I like how seamlessly it switches between the more puzzle-based side-scrolling sections with Mario and Luigi that also, again, blend very well with the RPG elements, as well as the more action-based Bowser segments. Fantastic game, and it's one that whenever I find myself starting a new file, I play through all the way until the end, and it feels like a new experience every single time. Marble Blast Ultra. I wanted to put a bit of a weird one on here. I really like physics-based games, and Marble Blast Ultra is one of the best physics-based games in my opinion because of how unrelenting it is about it, and it's not afraid to let the player really, really have fun. I've personally played the PC version of this game mostly, and I fall in love with it. It's a game that's very dangerous for me because if I pick it up, I will play it for several hours on end, and oftentimes through the entire game. I did see that there was a sequel to it that came out a few years ago. I have not played it. However, if you have not played this one, you can find it online. I won't elaborate further than that, but Marble Blast Ultra, if you like physics-based games, you cannot afford to miss this one because it has some of the best physics and one of the best physics engines ever put into a video game. Super Mario RPG. This is another RPG I fell in love with as a child. I know a lot of people are very mixed on its art direction. though it's something I immediately took to because I like how weird and radical it looks. And I understand that that decision did not pay off for some people, but for me it did, and it gave it a very interesting, almost clay like substance to it, which honestly I find kind of interesting because it reminds me vaguely of the clay figures that were used for like Earthbound and Earthbound Beginnings. However, I recognize that this visual style is much more of an adjustment for other people. I like just how radical this game is in general. It takes a lot of risk stylistically and in terms of the material it lets itself get away with, and some very off-color humor in some sections. It's one I haven't played in quite a while, but I'm itching to play it again. Gave birth to some of the best characters in the series that people love to this very day. I feel like a lot of you probably know the one I'm referring to. SuperHot VR, yeah, I want to put another kind of weird one. I have not played the PC version of SuperHot or any of the console versions. I've only played the VR version on the Oculus, and I love it. It's a game that I get sucked into and find myself replaying the same levels over and over again whenever I'm bored because I have so much fun playing it. It translates so well to this, and I think, judging by what I have seen of the PC version, I think this translates to VR so well that I would never be able to go to that version over this one. It allows for a lot of free movement, great exercise, by the way, and lets you just feel really cool. And I think it's important to let players have fun and feel cool sometimes, letting them do the really crazy stuff that they know they can't do in real life, or at least aren't given the opportunities to do in real life. So SuperHot VR is really great in my book. My only complaint is I wish it had more levels. I wish it was longer. The Portal series, yes, talking about physics-based games earlier. I'm rolling these into one entry, obviously, but Portal 1 and 2, both great. Some of the best voice acting I've ever heard in a video game, despite a lot of them being robots, but you know what I mean. They're not robots in a robotic acting sense. J.K. Simmons is phenomenal in the sequel as well. Though I would say I slightly prefer the atmosphere of Portal 1 to Portal 2. Portal 2 offers a lot of fantastic puzzles. This is a game that I enjoyed getting frustrated by, that I enjoyed taking a long time to figure out how some of the puzzles worked, and were ones that I could not put down when I started. I had to play them through to the end and was very reluctant to put them down, even to go to bed in between. A lot of great visual storytelling here as well, drenched with atmosphere. Once again, you're pricing a pattern here with the kind of games I like. Mario Party 2. I know there's a lot of Mario on this list. This is the last one. Mario Party 2. Yeah, I believe this is the best Mario Party in the series. Most of the best minigames, in my opinion. I like that they gave the characters costumes, something that's not really repeated nearly enough throughout the series. And it's very fast-paced, and I feel like a lot of the recent Mario Parties have really lost that fast-pacedness that these earlier entries had. And I find 2 to just be the most fun stylistically as well, just because it has, again, the costumes, but it also has some of the best music in the series, I think, and it also has some of the best sound effects. Sound effects are very important to games, way more important than you would ever think, but the sound design in this game in particular is way better than even the other ones that are just on the N64. And that's about all I want to say about that one, because said enough about Mario games, and I don't know if I can talk too much more about Mario Party. And the last one is Kirby Superstar Ultra on this list. Kirby Superstar Ultra was the first Kirby game I ever played, and I think it's a vast improvement to the original, even though the original is also fantastic. The sprite work and, again, sound effects are fantastic. The music is great. It's one that offers so much variety. No matter what mood you're in, you'll find something in this game that you will enjoy in the moment. And also, it's a game that, even though it's relentlessly happy, is never going to get on your nerves because it's way too lovable, which is crazy because I'm not a person that particularly loves stuff that's just non-facetiously happy, that is completely uncynical. But Kirby Superstar is a definite exception to that rule. Fantastic game, and feels very genuine. Anyways, that is my list of that is my second part to my list of my favorite games that are not the Mother series. If you guys would like to see another one of these in the future, let me know. Take it easy, everyone.